Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy broached the I word, saying that the House GOP might launch an impeachment inquiry of President Biden when Congress reconvenes. Newly uncovered memos from 2015 show that then Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter were working in concert to fire the Ukrainian prosecutor who was probing the energy firm Burisma, on which Hunter Biden served as a board member. As Republican presidential candidates gather in Milwaukee for the first GOP debate tonight, President Biden's re-election campaign already is sending signals that it's not inclined to debate in 2024 if former President Trump wins the nomination. And viral sensation Oliver Anthony, whose debut anthem, Rich Men North of Richmond, topped the Billboard Hot 100 chart, is out with a new song that ruminates on a world at the brink of war. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. We will get to our pre-debate coverage in just a moment. But tonight we begin with one of the most important stories that I think there is. I have never been more concerned for President Trump's safety than I am today. We see what the left is doing to President Trump. They have tried to financially destroy him. That hasn't worked. They have tried to literally imprison the man. That hasn't worked. They tried to go after him every way possible that they could with a weaponized judicial system. That hasn't worked. The only thing left to stop President Trump right now is for those on the left to kill him. And I don't say that easily. To me, it makes my stomach churn to think of the thought of President Trump being assassinated, maybe by a rogue lunatic on the left, but more likely by those inside the deep state. I know it sounds conspiratorial to say these things, but when you look at the history of the deep state today and what they have done to President Trump, I never thought in a million years that I'd see FBI agents paying millions of dollars for phony informants. I never thought that I'd see FBI agents doctor witness statements just to go after President Trump and stop him. I never thought that I'd see FBI agents take evidence they knew was bogus and use it for search warrants and investigations, all in a witch hunt against President Trump that was completely concocted by the left to steal power from the people. What's left for them to do? It makes me sad to think that this is a real possibility. The Secret Service needs to be listening to me today, if ever there was a day to listen to me. You need to step up your security of President Trump. It's not just me that thinks like this. My friend Bernard Kerik, the former commissioner of the New York Police Department, he made this warning a few months ago. Watch.
Right before he got elected, I was in Washington, D.C. I was at a couple different social events, and I heard people talking. They said the Democrats want this guy so bad that they wouldn't put assassination behind it. And I'm going to tell you something. They've tried impeachment. They've tried another impeachment. They've tried one investigation after another. This is about one thing. This is about stopping him from running in 2024.
I believe, sadly, Bernard Kerik's right. That's a man with years upon years, decades of law enforcement experience, and he's concerned about this very thing. I don't know what it is, but the feeling inside me tells me that they are ramping up their attacks against President Trump, and I believe those attacks will soon become physical if the Secret Service is not on its game. So, as I said, you had FBI agents that were going after President Trump, literally using their job and weaponizing the agency to go after him. So, Dan Bongino is a former Secret Service agent. He's been a great voice for President Trump and freedom in this country. And to think he, too, is worried about President Trump's safety.
Having protected both Democrats and Republicans, protectees and presidents, right? I'm telling you, this guy's in real danger. It scares me to talk about this, but here's why. His threat level right now has to be through the roof. It has to be. I've done this a long time. I spent over 10 years there. His threat level has to be through the roof. I can't imagine that if you would have matrixed it out and put like rated a 1 to 10, that Trump isn't at a level 10.
So it's not a coincidence that I used Bernard Kerik, the former commissioner of the New York Police Department, and I used Dan Bongino, a former Secret Service agent, two guys that I would call friends of mine, two guys that I have great respect for. So it's not just me saying this. So you see that there are other very smart people who believe this could be the case. We know that the left has a thirst for violence unlike anything I have ever seen before. We know that they have gone down this road of turning this nation into a banana republic. We see Russia, Xi Jinping, doing the same thing. They'll kill off their political opponents. What is to stop this regime from killing off political opponents if they can't stop them by financially breaking them or locking them up in prison? So I started to realize this was a real threat when I was listening to another friend of mine, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor. I'm so saddened that he had to turn himself in today on these bogus charges down in Fulton County, where President Trump will be tomorrow. And when he said this about America, this is when I realized President Trump was really in danger. Listen.
They're destroying my right to counsel, my right to be a lawyer. They're destroying his right to counsel. It's not accidental that they've indicted all his lawyers. Never heard of that before in America. Now they've indicted people in this case. I don't even know who they are. These are just regular people making a normal living. They're going to bankrupt them. They won't convict them.
Never heard of this in America. That one little statement, the light went off. I can't imagine our government executing a former president. Many people say our government executed a sitting president back with JFK. I don't know. We've still never seen the documents. I do know that this government is capable of it. Whether they would carry it out or not, I hope and pray they would not. But I'm telling you, there are those inside the deep state that are capable of something like this. So now America operates like a dictatorship. As I said, Xi Jinping and Putin, they're killing off their political opponents. What's to stop the deep state now from doing this? So certainly they want Trump imprisoned, and they want Rudy imprisoned too. They want anybody who's fighting for freedom imprisoned. Here's Rudy Giuliani again.
Now, whether you dislike or you like Donald Trump, let me give you a warning. They're going to come for you. When the political winds shift, as they always do, let us pray that Republicans are more honest, more trustworthy, and more American than these people in charge of this government. Because if our government is conducted this way, and the system of justice is politicized and criminalized for politics, your rights are in jeopardy and your children's.
Again, he used the term more American, because if we lived in the country that I know and love, we would never be talking about something like this. Sadly, this country has changed. I've watched the Democrats literally ruin the nation that I love, but it can be rebuilt. And I want to make something very clear. We're going to see debates tonight between Republican candidates. We know President Trump is going to be the nominee. They're not the ones that save this nation. Even President Trump isn't the one that saves this nation. You and me are. All of us together. Yes, President Trump can lead us to victory, but he doesn't get there without us. Without all of us standing firm in the face of this tyrannical insanity that we are witnessing today of locking up political opponents and, God forbid, killing them. It is up to us to do our part, isn't it, Mr. Mayor?
Because I feel like I'm defending the rights of all Americans, as I did so many times as a United States attorney. People like to say I'm different. I'm the same Rudy Giuliani that took down the mafia, that made New York City the safest city in America, reduced crime more than any mayor in the history of any city, anywhere, And I'm fighting for justice. I have been from the first moment. I represented Donald Trump, an innocent man who has now been proven innocent several times. I don't know how many times he has to be proven innocent, and they have to be proven to be liars, actually enemies of our republic.
He's one man fighting for all of those things. I'm one host fighting for all of those things. But I played you, Dan Bongino, one host. I played you, Bernard Kerik, one New York City police commissioner, retired. I can go through the list of hundreds of people in this country doing exactly what Rudy Giuliani is doing, putting themselves on the line in the name of defending this country. You need to join me, join President Trump in doing that too right now. Because without us, and literally it starts with just being bold, with talking about this stuff, not being afraid, stop whispering, and making sure that we save this country together. Well, joining me now is the former executive of the director of National Diversity Coalition for President Trump. Bruce Lavelle is with us. And my co-host on The Morning Answer over on AM 870 in Los Angeles, Jen Horn, is with us. Guys, it is great to have you on the program. Jen, this is something you and I talk about all the time. Let me ask you first, Jen. How concerned are you about President Trump's safety? I raised this question with you this morning.
Yeah, I'm very concerned. And like you, Grant, I probably a few years ago wouldn't think this was possible. But knowing what the government has done, what the government is willing to do, what the deep state, probably better said, is willing to do, I have major concerns for President Trump. I think they would like nothing more than to throw him into jail and who knows what else from there. It's going to be incredibly difficult for him to be safe and secure in a situation like that. And that's what they want to see because he can't be controlled, and the swamp does not like that.
Yeah, they can't stop him. Bruce, you know I'm going to be called a conspiracy theorist, and I'm going to be called crazy and a right-wing extremist for raising this very serious question. I have to believe the Secret Service is thinking about this. Do you think I'm so far out of bounds that I would worry about a rogue deep state, a rogue leftist, a violent left, doing something harmful to President Trump?
No, Grant, absolutely not. And thanks for having me. You know, I'm here in Atlanta right now, broadcasting right here in Fulton County. So, you know, I have a pulse of what's going on, especially my friends, Ray Smith, who you saw, David Schaefer, people I've known for decades, watching them get mugshots here in my very own county, just scratching my head. But, you know, to answer your question, Grant, I think that's a fair analysis. I think that's fair for you to feel that way. And millions of others, there's 80+ million supporters who support President Trump. But in light of that, real quick, I just want to say this, and to this, all your viewers, too. For me, I really believe that, and I stand in faith on agreement that God's got President Trump covered. I believe he's got. I've always said this is what we call the Great Reformation. Some people go into a very strong tense to saying, you know, revolution. You know, that kind of spooks everyone. But maybe those are harsh words you need to hear. So I really believe that he's going to be covered. There's millions and millions of us that have him in prayer, as well as this whole movement, you know, not just President Trump, just everyone that believes in this great America awakening that we got going on. And if this is not an awakening, Grant, brother, I don't know what else could be. Yeah. So I think for me, my calmness and peace comes over the fact that I believe in that in itself. And that's what keeps me focused on what the real goal is to get him in the Oval Office, is to keep pushing forward. Listen, guys, we're trying to unravel decades of swampness. And Grant, you and I talked about this on the show. We didn't know how deep it was. It's very, very deep for decades and decades of pay to play on both sides of the aisle. So it is going to take time. We do have America First Congress and Senate and State House people this year that got elected. That's the light of this. We got to stay on the light and track of this and where we're headed with this. So that's my optimism, Grant. But yes, to answer your question, it's fair for you to think that way.
You know, one of the reasons why I love having you on is because you do restore some faith for me. And I do believe that God is covering President Trump, but God gives you free will, too. Like, you got to make sure that you're doing everything you can do to keep yourself safe as well. Jen, going back to the idea that President Trump isn't the only one that can rescue us from all of this, right? A lot of people say, oh, he's the only guy. And I believe he's the only guy that can lead us But without the masses, President Trump doesn't win anything, and he certainly doesn't take back America unless he's got all of us with him.
Well, and this is what's so important to understand is that President Trump, I think, I believe, I know you believe, Grant, that President Trump is the one who is uniquely positioned to go in, get the job done. This is exactly where he needs to be, is back in the Oval Office. There is no other candidate that is available right now to us as a party and as a country that can get us back to where we belong. But certainly the power is with the people. And unfortunately, for too long, the people have been asleep. We have been complacent. We now need to wake up and we need to fight. We need to show up like we have never shown up before. We need to get President Trump reelected, and we need to make sure that a message is sent to the deep state, to the controlling elite, and to the leftists in this country that this country is not for the taking. It's not for the reimagining. It is not for the transformation. This is our country that we will make better every single day. President Trump will lead us there, but you better believe it is the American citizens that will vote for him and support him that will take us there and lead the fight.
Well, this is why Dr. Sebastian Gorka calls you the warrior princess, because of tough talk and straight talk just like that. And it's all flat out true. You know, Bruce, you were talking about God. I'm going to play a clip for you from a guy who calls himself a reverend. I actually think the man's possessed. I'm talking about Al Sharpton. How dare he call himself a reverend, quite frankly, with the policies and things that he does, including lying. Roll clip 7 for Bruce.
Because he doesn't understand every time that a mugshot is shown, he's saying to independent voters and to moderate Republicans, do I really want to vote for that? Do I really want my children to feel I identify with that? But he doesn't think in those terms, which is why he will be, in many ways, the victim of his own bombast. Do you really want them back making decisions that could be war and peace and economy? I mean, at some point, voters are going to say, wait a minute, I might like the show, but I don't want that guy in charge of my life.
All right, Bruce, the economy was better under Trump. We had less wars under Trump. Putin was safe and not doing anything under Trump. When I tell you the man lies, how do you call yourself a reverend and literally lie to the American people like that?
Well, I actually happen to know Brother Al Sharpton, and I'll tell you this: I can speak on this particular subject. You know, Brother Al was very good friends with President Trump before President Trump came down those escalators, along with Jesse and many other notable, quote, black leaders in the community. Al and the rest of these guys, they really don't have a choice because the special interest has funded their foundations. And the majority of their debt services that they run these foundations are huge benefactors that are part of the left that say if any of these guys get out of line and go against President Trump, they'll call him up and say, hey, have we not been a great partner with you for decades supporting your foundations? This is how they get control. Watch this in Real America Voice. This is how this happens, especially in urban communities and really big congregations, et cetera. They go after and fund their foundations, not so much as their church. The foundations are used on the side for them to travel and live a certain lifestyle. So there's the control. And we can go another hour in this segment. I can give you many, many names of who are controlled. And that's why you hear this type of rhetoric coming out of Al Sharpton. But once again, before President Trump came down the escalators of June 2015, they were best friends, and Al was calling President Trump up for money and singing an old song, "Kumbaya." Give me high five, and you know. And you saw President Trump even when he turned to Schumer. Schumer was cool with him and all this. So that's why you see and hear that. That's part of what Jen is saying earlier of special interest.
I'll never forget President Trump in a room with all of them, where he literally at the podium turns to all of them and called them out for exactly what you said. Yep. And it was brilliant, President Trump. Jen Horn, I will see you in the morning on the radio. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And Bruce Lavelle, I will see you soon, I am sure. God bless the both of you. I appreciate you both coming on tonight.
8:55 tonight on Twitter.
Absolutely, buddy. We will see you there. All right. And that's President Trump when he will drop that interview with Tucker Carlson. We're going to have complete coverage here on Real America's Voice as well. I will break down President Trump stealing the show from other GOP presidential contenders next. Stick with me. folks, in just, a couple hours, I guess now, that the debates will take center stage in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Larry Elder still does not appear to be getting on the stage. I think this is the tale of two GOPs. You have the grand old party that is really made up of the majority, Make America Great Again conservatives, President Trump, America First Republicans, and then the donor class. The donor class does not want Larry Elder on the stage for whatever reason. They are hopeful that Ron DeSantis has a big night, and they're doing everything they can do to rig the system in Ron DeSantis' favor without Donald Trump on the stage. Now, Donald Trump is going to drop his interview with Tucker Carlson on Twitter. We'll talk about whether that's a good strategy or not. But there's one guy you know if you watch this program enough to know that I despise this man. And the reason that I despise him is because I think he's turned his back on the Republican Party and in turn turned his back on America. I'm talking about Adam Kinzinger. When you make up lies like the former congressman does, not only do you lose my respect, but you will get the vitriol of me on this program to push back, especially when you say dopey things like this.
Donald Trump is a coward. He's scared to death of Chris Christie because I think Chris Christie is going to wipe the floor with him. And I think that's what he's afraid of. So
you think Donald Trump is afraid of Chris Christie? I don't think so. This is why he is no longer a former congressman. Excuse me, well, he is a former congressman. This is why he is no longer a congressman, Adam Kinzinger. He gets it wrong. All they want to do between him and Christie and the others is slam Donald Trump, and it is a huge mistake. This is CNN now talking about President Trump's counter-programming. Watch.
Just for the record, Donald Trump's counter-programming is horrible. I don't think anybody's going to be watching Tucker Carlson on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. And I don't think anybody's going to be responsive to his quote-unquote counter-program.
Folks, I wouldn't be surprised if you see 20 million views on that. Okay? How many of you people will watch this debate tonight? Not a lot. The rating is going to be the worst of any debate, most likely, because President Trump is not there. These views could be 10, 20, 30 million views on Twitter. Now, people don't watch the whole thing, so it's not quite a legitimate look at it. I would have preferred that President Trump held a town hall, and I would have hosted it right here on Real America's Voice. Heck, even if he went to our competitor Newsmax over there or even CNN, I think it would have been better for President Trump. But the Twitter thing is good, and it's got people talking about it. And lastly, let me play this next soundbite before I bring our guest in. This is the former lieutenant governor of Georgia with his predictions of the upcoming election.
I could see us in a general, if we nominate somebody other than Donald Trump, I could see a 60-40 landslide victory for a Republican if their name isn't Donald Trump.
Look, I don't want to call the former lieutenant governor an idiot, but that's basically what that statement amounts to. People aren't going to show up if it's not President Trump. That's why it has to be President Trump. Republicans already have a real problem of staying home. You want to keep President Trump off the ballot? You'll see millions of Republicans stay home. Joining me now is the founder of the Western Journal. It is a great outlet for news, as well as the founder of Citizens United and author of the book Counterpunch, An Unlikely Alliance of Americans Fighting Back for Faith. Floyd Brown is with us. Floyd, welcome to the program.
Grant, it's great to be with you. And, just listening to your commentary, you're exactly right. I mean, if Donald Trump is not the nominee of the Republican Party gets blown out, probably worse than they did in 1964. I mean, the truth is that the people are done with fake change. And the Uniparty in Washington wants to have kabuki theater where basically they're all on the same page. They're all for the war in Ukraine. They're all for open borders. They're all for the size and scope of government and spending growing, regulation growing, taxes growing. They're all together. And the only one who's ever stood up to them is President Trump. And that's why they hate him so much so that they're doing everything they can to put him in jail and try and keep him off the ballot. And, the Republican Party is in for a rude awakening. I'll make one prediction, Grant, and that is if Donald Trump is not the nominee of the Republican Party is over as a political force in America.
It's interesting because I already am concerned about the Republican Party because the factions from within. In many respects, at some point, we've got to unify before the election. We'll have a real hard time with that because you've got this donor class working so hard against President Trump right now when he clearly has the majority of support. How do we bring this party back together?
Yeah, but you have to understand what the donor class is all about. You see, for the last 2 decades, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party came together and they created this wealth extraction machine where they were making billionaires. And so these billionaires that, quote, are the party funders on both the left and the right, these guys are making book on government. I talk about in my book, Counterpunch, COVID policy, where we had therapeutics that were as cheap as $3 a pill. We suppressed them all, but instead we made 40 brand new billionaires through COVID policy. And, green energy policy, all it does is mint billionaires. The military industrial complex in this war in Ukraine, all it's doing is minting more billionaires in the donor class. But the American people want none of it. We don't want to support this war. Instead, we'd rather help take care of the people in Maui who are hurting. There's real Americans that are hurting that need protection, they need help, and we're turning a blind eye to them, but funding all of these policies that just basically pump money into the wallets of the donor class.
It's interesting because often I'll do these shows and themes just start to arise throughout the show that I never plan on. You had Bruce Lavelle talking about money talks when it comes to these pastors and the foundations. Now we're talking about the donor class. Money talks when it comes to billionaires and where their politics are. Sadly, it all comes down to money. The debate tonight, though, President Trump is not going to be there. Let me run a clip from Kari Lake talking about the decision. This is, of course, she should have been governor of Arizona, but Kari Lake on War Room this morning.
I mean, he's been 40 to 60 points up, or 40 or 50 points up, I should say, in the polls for months now. He's the obvious nominee. He's going to be the nominee. And this is just, it's a waste of his time, frankly. The people of this country know where he stands on the issues. They trust him to get us back on track, to get the inflation tamed, to get the economy back on track, to end this war that Joe Biden is dragging us into.
All right, Floyd, so I take a little bit of a different take on this, but I know the consultant class is going to say, hey, you got to sit it out. And, of course, common sense, the smart money says sit it out. But I'm such a fighter. I wanted him to just go and throw some knockout punches. You get the ratings, throw himself into the news. Then he's going to turn himself in tomorrow. It would have been great if he was there. Where do you fall on all of this, Floyd? Last word.
Yeah, I actually don't think it was. I don't think he should have go. And the reason is because it would be him against everybody else. And they're not even on the same stage as him. And, if their poll number, if there was any kind of a race, maybe we should have a debate. But there's no race. This nomination is over. And so I really think everybody should come together. This is time for unity. And it's time for unity because the Democratic Party strategy is to try and rip him off of the ballot. They want to convict him, and then, they've telegraphed their moves. They want to use this, quote, insurrection rule that's in the Constitution that was targeted at people from the South after the Civil War, a real insurrection, and they want to use it against Donald Trump because of their, quote, fake insurrection on January 6th. And so, no, I don't think Trump should play by the rules. I don't think he should do what they want. And frankly, I think he's going to get much, much broader coverage with Tucker on X than he will, even if he was at the debate. But so frankly, I'm going to watch both. I am interested in the debate. I'm interested in the debate for the reason of I want to see the future leaders of the Republican Party. I want to see how Vivek does. I want to see how Governor DeSantis does.
I don't think anybody on the stage is a future leader other than Vivek, quite possibly, but he still has to prove himself to me. I don't know anything about this man's background. More stuff starts to come out about it. He's got some proving to do. DeSantis, he would do himself great to just step down, get out of the way, throw his support behind President Trump. He could rescue his political career. And in fact, that would be my advice to all of these, and just give President Trump the runway to take off. But Floyd Brown, I appreciate you coming on tonight. It's great having you. I hope you come back and see me.
Grant, great to be with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right, folks. The mayor of Los Angeles blames the crime wave on conservative media. That's right. Us. Oh, I do radio in Los Angeles. I'm responsible for the crime wave now. I'll have her message next. Folks, I don't know if you have seen it, but crime is out of control, and not just Los Angeles, but in Democrat cities across the country. It's because they don't enforce the laws on the books. They don't put criminals in prison. The smash and grab robberies right now that are going on in Los Angeles. So I do radio on AM 870. You can listen to the show anywhere in the country. It's a great show. AM870.info. All right, how's that for a plug? Just this morning, I'm looking, yesterday, another smash and grab over and over again. And Mayor Karen Bass comes out. And this is who she blames the crime on. Listen to this.
Well, what I want them to know is that they are safe in Los Angeles. Crime trends show crime going down. However, when you have a spectacular type crime happen like this, it does create a sense of fear. But one of the reasons it does is because it's exploited by the press, and especially the conservative press that wants to paint Los Angeles and many other Democratic-run cities as though we are in a crisis of crime, and that is not the case.
Look, I don't want to laugh, but I have. It's serious. We can't be laughing here. Crime is out of control in Los Angeles. It is not me and Jen Horn, who you saw earlier, driving crime in Los Angeles. If anything, we're actually giving tips and tactics that would instantly prevent crime from happening in Los Angeles if they would only listen to us. But they don't. How dare her? Crime is out of control in Los Angeles. It is dangerous in Los Angeles. People are afraid to go out of their homes, go to their cars, go to work. And it's not just in that city, but many other cities. So if you don't believe me, I wanted to bring on a Democrat, okay, to help you understand this. Well, really help Mayor Karen Bass understand this. Of course, I'm talking about the former sheriff of Los Angeles County, our friend Alex Villanueva. Sheriff, great to have you back on.
Good to see you, Grant.
So I bet you didn't know, I was joking with Jen Horn on the radio that she's the one going and doing the smash and grabs, and she takes it back to me, and I put all the stuff up on eBay, and we have the crime spree going on. Is this not ridiculous?
Outrageous. I had to laugh in fact, I had to hear it twice to make sure I heard it right, because you could substitute the word George Floyd, the name, and Black Lives Matter. That is, in essence, the summer of love of 2020, when the far left was doing exactly what now Mayor Bass is accusing conservative media. Unbelievable.
All right, so this is a common theme, apparently. Nobody wants to take responsibility for their actions. This is a reporter asking Soros-funded George Gascon, the district attorney who's responsible for so many of the problems and enabling this crime to fester in Los Angeles. Cut 3, roll that for the sheriff.
What do you say to the person who points a finger at you, saying that there are people in this community who believe they can get away with serious crime in LA County and not be held accountable?
Well, I would ask you the question, what would you tell them when you just heard me speaking right now? Because I think you have a responsibility also for addressing it.
There's no responsibility, Sheriff. What's your response to him?
I have 13,677 reasons why George Gascon is full of himself, because that's the number of cases he rejected from my department alone in his first full year in office, 2021. The same thing happened to LAPD. The same thing happened to the other 45 municipal police departments in LA County. He decided not to prosecute virtually any misdemeanor, so he legalized theft. And now he's astonished that there's a problem with theft in LA County. Lord Jesus, what are these people smoking?
Sheriff, over 13,000 cases he's refusing to prosecute. What were some of these cases? Were any of them real bad?
Yes, real bad cases. In fact, we had the illegal marijuana grows in the high desert. We had felony cases, people processing tons of marijuana, would not touch them whatsoever. You have a lot of the smash and grabs, some of them that were arrested were released the very same day or the next day. Because remember, if there wasn't a violent felony attached to a robbery, it became a simple theft, which meant zero bail schedule. You're out the same day on a citation for a felony. And if you get prosecuted, and that's a big miracle, you're probably not going to get any time behind it. That is the progressive reforms that they're calling, which is just anarchy.
All right, I want to play another soundbite from Karen Bass. This is Cut 5, talking about her task force to go after smash and grab robberies.
When crimes like this take place, people have to be held accountable to the full extent of the law. And I don't believe that any of the crimes that we have talked about today would result in no bail. People need to be held accountable. They need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And Angelenos need to be made to feel safe.
Sheriff, if I'm not mistaken, the day after that news conference, there were 3 smash and grab suspects arrested, and they were let out on the street the next day.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And notice the gentleman in a tan and green sheriff uniform standing behind the mayor. He is the one who's responsible for regional task force. He is the one responsible for crime, not the mayor of LA. So why is this conference going on at City Hall and not the Hall of Justice, which is the headquarters for both the district attorney and the sheriff? Those are the ones that should be driving the narrative on how to combat this problem, not the mayor of LA. So definitely it points to a huge problem right there.
All right. So why is it, Sheriff? Why is it at City Hall?
I think they have a new photo op leader, and they're trying to take the spotlight away from the sheriff who is failing miserably, from the DA who is failing miserably. And let's illustrate City Hall and our wonderful mayor, and it's just a crisis photo op and a deflection from the problem. And it is a failure of both the district attorney and the sheriff to do their job according to the law. And it's not going to get any better. It's going to continue to slide downward because of this.
Yeah. You know, it saddens me to say, as a guy who does radio every morning in LA, and I do love that city, but the city is failing. And it's failing because of the leadership there. And it's failing the people even more than that, because you could turn it around very quickly. I'll give you the last word, Sheriff.
It can be turned around. We need to have people in every office, DA, sheriff, mayor, city council, board of supervisors, that respect the rule of law. They're going to actually legitimize and give credit to law enforcement, hold them accountable, but support them. And then when you do that, all of a sudden people will have more respect towards law enforcement instead of bashing them on a daily basis. And now we'll look at the cities paying the price. Look at the cost of the contract with LAPD. Why? Because they can't convince anyone to do a job that they've demonized themselves for the last 4 years.
Well, again, I've told you this before. It's unfortunate that you didn't win your reelection in Los Angeles County. The people there could certainly use your leadership, because there's no leadership in that county going on right now. Not that kind of leadership we like. Sheriff Alex Villanueva, as always, it's great having you on the program.
All right. Thank you, Grant.
Absolutely. All right, folks. The head of Russia's mercenary force, the Wagner Group, is dead. A plane crash. What is going on in Russia? I've got some ideas. Talk about that next. do a little review session here. Do you remember a few months ago when Russia was experiencing what the mainstream media called a coup? And I told you I don't think this is a coup. I think it was the Wagner Group, Putin's private army, led by this Prigozhin character, a mercenary who's really a Russian oligarch. He's a multi-gazillionaire, going in and taking on Russian armies. I believe that he was working on behalf of Putin to take out leaders of the Russian army that Putin was very unhappy with because he's losing in Ukraine. That was my assessment then. Now you've got to question that assessment because today, Prigozhin's plane goes down in Russia, crashes with 10 people on board. It was a business jet. Now, as I always tell you, there are no coincidences. What happened between then? Now, mind you, after the so-called coup, Prigozhin is on the doorstep of Putin in Moscow. Then he calls off everything, and Putin says, "You're a good guy. Yes, you're a good guy, too." And he goes off to Belarus to live happily ever after, possibly plotting an invasion of Ukraine from that country. And then, lo and behold, today, now we have his plane crashing and all 10 people on board dying. Now, you would think that the man who calls himself president, the man who occupies the Oval Office, would maybe get some information about what's going on, seeing that this is turmoil and chaos in one of our enemy's nations. Well, no, it's not what happens. He was busy doing something else. Roll it, guys.
I was asked about this by you. I said I'd be careful what I drink and what I wrote in. I don't know for a fact what happened, but I'm not surprised.
Do you believe?
There's not much that happens when Russia is not behind, but I don't know enough to know the answer. I've been working out for the last hour and a half.
You know what he said I've been working out for the last hour. I don't know a lot. I can't answer any questions. Now, he is correct that not a lot happens in Russia without Putin being involved. I will agree with him. I will agree with him that if you're on Putin's bad side, and you better be careful with what you ride in or what you eat. But here's the thing. When something like this goes down, you stop working out, but he's on vacation there with his little smoothie. Well, do you have the picture of the guy, by the way? Guys, let's just pick it. We got a national security situation going on, and here comes Biden with a smoothie, okay? A smoothie with his stupid straw. And by the way, is that a paper straw? It better be a freaking paper straw if you're making me drink out of the paper with the paper straws. I'm sure it's not. He's on vacation. He doesn't live by our rules. He lives by everybody else's rules, only his, right? All right, folks, I got good news to report. So after all of that, I have good news to report. Do you know this Rich Men North of Richmond song talking about the Washington elite, this Oliver Anthony? That song is now at Billboard's #1 spot. Let me play you just a little bit of it.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to.
It is a damn shame what the world has gotten to. And I think the song captures exactly what America is going through under Democrat leadership, like here, like this. This is an amazing song. His voice is phenomenal. So many people have sent me songs, country songs that they have written. And quite frankly, I'm grateful to all of you sending them to me. They don't compare to this. The lyrics were great. His voice is great. And it's a special song. So then he releases a second song after turning down $8 million deal, by the way. The second song is even more depressing than the first song. Roll it.
Well, if it weren't for my old dogs and the good Lord, they'd have me strung up in the psych ward. 'Cause every day living in this new world is one too many days to me. Son, we're on the brink of the next world war, and I don't think nobody's praying no more, and I ain't saying I know it for sure. I'm just down on my knees, begging Lord, take me home. I want to go home.
I'm down on my knees begging for the Lord to take me home? That's brutal. That's asking to die. So, again, it's a powerful song. He's got a great voice. I know this man will be successful, but I want to give him just one little tip. Because depression cannot sustain sales for your entire career. You've got to give people some sense of hope as well. So as bad as America is right now, I think America is still the greatest nation in the country, in the world. We can cut it down just a little bit, guys. Thank you. I want the country to be rescued by us, as I mentioned earlier today. This is still the greatest nation in the world. I don't want to go home. I don't want God to take me. I don't want God to rescue me by taking me off the face of the earth. We need to be rescued by him ridding society of the evil and the demonic policies and agendas that are out there. Okay? Notice I didn't say remove the people. Remove the policies and agendas that are evil. And we get America back by fighting. I just want Oliver Anthony to be hopeful a little bit and be happy. I almost kind of worry about him a little bit listening to that song, talking about going home. Very, very sad. He's a talented performer. Give me some hope. Give me your next song. Let it be a song about saving America and how we do it. And I promise you that'll be a hit too. All right, folks, when you talk about saving something, how about your finances? Here's how you save your finances. You protect yourself with gold today. Please use my friends over at Birch Gold. They can help you. They're experts in this. Birch Gold can take an existing IRA, transform portions of it into a precious metals IRA. This is an important portfolio protection move. They also can provide you with physical gold, gold you can hold, right? The safety, security, privacy that only gold can give you. How do you get in touch with the folks at Birch Gold? It's really easy. You text America to the number 989898. That's America to the number 989898. Make sure you tell them that Grant sent you, and I promise you, you will not regret it. Take the steps to protect your finances so your family's protected as well. Birch Gold can help you. All right. MSNBC brings on a judge who says President Trump won't even be allowed on the ballots in 2024. Oh, really? We'll hear that next.
Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy broached the I word, saying that the House GOP might launch an impeachment inquiry of President Biden when Congress reconvenes. Newly uncovered memos from 2015 show that then Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter were working in concert to fire the Ukrainian prosecutor who was probing the energy firm Burisma, on which Hunter Biden served as a board member. As Republican presidential candidates gather in Milwaukee for the first GOP debate tonight, President Biden's re-election campaign already is sending signals that it's not inclined to debate in 2024 if former President Trump wins the nomination. And viral sensation Oliver Anthony, whose debut anthem, Rich Men North of Richmond, topped the Billboard Hot 100 chart, is out with a new song that ruminates on a world at the brink of war. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats are desperate to keep President Trump off the ballot. I told you I fear he's at risk of an assassination attempt. We know they want to put him in jail. They want to use the 14th Amendment because of a insurrection to keep him off. Listen to this, Judge.
I believe to a certainty that there will be secretaries of states in several of the states who will decline to place the former president on the ballot, arguing that he is unqualified by virtue of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment.
It doesn't work like that. Now, that guy's a judge. This is the problem with Democrats. They don't understand the rule of law. So he says there's going to have Secretary of State do it. They may try to do it, and then it's going to be a court case. But in the end, President Trump's going to be on the ballot in all 50 states. If it was up to me, he would win all 50 states. Truthfully, it could be a landslide. People are tired. Americans are fed up, as Anthony Oliver's song shows. Going to number one. People are tired. We want a resurrection. And so I think President Trump is the guy to do it. Hey, debates coming up tonight. Real America's Voice will have coverage of them. And President Trump's speech being released in just about, 2 hours? Is it 1 hour now? And so we will be covering that tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see his coverage with Tucker Carlson, the interview there. It's going to do it for us, folks. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to all of you. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.